Makoto Misumi, who is a high school student and has good skills in archery, was living a normal life until he was summoned in front of a god who introduced himself as Tsukuyumi. To Makoto's surprise, Tsukuyumi reveals that he will be sent to another world as a hero since his parents were from another world and came to Earth via a mysterious contract they made with the goddess of that world, which required them to give the goddess something extremely valuable to them, which shocked Makoto to no end. After giving it some thought, Makoto decides to attend since if he didn't, one of his sisters would be transported to that world. Prior to that, he must personally meet with the goddess, but Tsukuyumi advises him to exercise patience when speaking with her, to which Makoto gladly assents without realizing what he was about to encounter. Soon after, Makoto shows up in front of the goddess, but when she sees his face, which is anything but attractive, she begins to laugh. The goddess was so disgusted that she refused to bestow any blessings on Makoto. Instead, she merely granted him the ability to understand all languages except for human language. The goddess told him she didn't want to see his hideous face for one more second and dropped him off at the furthest corners of wasteland, far from human civilization. Makoto was dumbfounded by her treatment towards him and believed that his bad luck couldn't get any worse. However, unexpectedly, Tsukuyumi appears in front of him at the last second, albeit he is quite frail due to the long distance he must travel to reach Makoto. Tsukuyumi explained that the burden of being restrained on Earth was released here in the magic world, and Makoto should be far stronger than he thinks of himself. With all being said, Makoto lands in this new magic world, which will eventually make him far stronger than the gods themselves, but in this barren wasteland, it is hard to find any living civilization. After enduring some days of hardship, Makoto heard a woman screaming. He followed the sound and was flabbergasted to discover that it was a pig and a two-headed monster. But to his shock, the monster was killed instantly without even sustaining his single blow. The pig woman named Emma was terrified by Makoto's overwhelming strength, but after some thinking, she decided to put her trust in him and take him to the monster village. Soon after, Makoto was surprised to see Emma using some simple magic, and Emma teaches him the fundamentals of fire magic. However, Makoto's simple use of fire magic ends up being much more powerful and destructive, startling Emma. In excitement, Emma tries to measure his level but finds out he is only level 1. Next, Makoto goes to another place to try out his magic, and he manipulates his fire magic into a bow and shoots at a nearby target, which causes a big explosion, but unfortunately a powerful mythical dragon comes before him. Once more baffled by his misfortune, Makoto attempted to defend himself from the dragon. Fortunately, he was able to avoid all of the dragon's blows and then counterattack with fire magic. The dragon didn't think much about the power behind these fireballs, but to its surprise, the fireballs caused high damage. It wasn't over yet. The dragon received a continuous attack from Makoto and was being beaten very badly. However, a surprise attack caught Makoto off guard and took him in an illusion back to his school days, and there was a breathtaking girl in front of him who invited him out on a date. Nevertheless, Makoto quickly realized that he had previously turned her down, which saddened her and caused Makoto to feel guilty once more. Makoto soon discovered his power, which was a semicircular domain. Within the domain, he had greater control over the space around him. He initially shattered the barrier. To Makoto's bewilderment, the previous dragon behaved entirely differently. Interestingly, the dragon could see Makoto's memories from another world, and the dragon was especially attracted to historical dramas about samurai. The dragon introduced herself as Shin, and knowing that Makoto was a being from another world, the dragon requested to form a contract, which was agreed to by him. The ritual has begun, but with Makoto's overwhelming power, the contract makes the dragon practically a slave. The shocking part was that the dragon transformed into a hot woman in Japanese clothes. She explained how the weaker creature adopts the look of the dominant one, and after the contract being overwhelmed by Makoto, the dragon transformed into human form. Next, she led Makoto to her demi-plane, but to their astonishment, it wasn't empty like they expected. A demi-plane is meant to be a realm where nothing exists, but here it was like another world with an exceptional environment. The fact that Makoto Power and Shin joined together after the contract is what caused the demi-plane to transform so drastically. Makoto attempted to scan the area, but was horrified to see that he couldn't cover the full space. The fruit on this demi-planet was much nicer than it was in the real world, and it was like a blessed place where all creatures could flourish harmoniously. Not long after Makoto returned to the highland orc town and was taking in the celebration, meanwhile, Shin invited the orcs to the demi-plane, where they would be able to live and thrive in a much better environment. Following day, the highland orcs start to kneel in front of Makoto, which confuses him. When he asks Shin what is going on, she reveals that they are all moving to the demi-plane to work for Makoto and create his own kingdom. Makoto had no choice but to accept them, which made them diligent workers. Makoto also tries to assist them in their work but terrifies them with his might. Suddenly, an ancient black spider disaster breaks into his demi-plane, which results in him using his magic, but to Makoto's utter disbelief, the spider's capacity for regeneration is much stronger. Next, Makoto then attacked the creatures with all of his strength, but to his surprise, the monsters enjoyed being hurt by him. Makoto didn't give up, but the monsters broke through Makoto's barrier, stabbed him all over his body, and when his rage got the better of him and he lost control, a large explosion occurred. Makoto charged his strongest attack, which overwhelmed the monsters and injured it badly, but Makoto lost consciousness in the next moment. Upon testing Makoto's blood and being overcome by his might, the ancient monster shockingly develops a passionate love for him. Then the ancient spider disaster makes a contract to stay with Makoto and transforms into human form. The scene changes. When Makoto awakens, he is greeted by a beautiful woman who was the black spider from before. She also mentioned how Shin made every effort to heal him because Makoto's body makes healing magic less effective. They asked Makoto to give them each a new name that fits them without waiting for him to respond. Makoto made the difficult decision to rename Shin as Tomo and the black spider Mio, making them both extremely happy. After that, Makoto travels to the town of humans, but on the way, he encounters a woman who flees in terror when she sees him. He didn't give it much thought, but as he got to the gate, the human attacked him without warning once more. Soon after, Makoto learns from Tomo that his mana is so overwhelming that it appears to be 5 demon kings combined. Fortunately, an elder dwarf makes him rings to suppress his mana, which will allow him to move around the human village. Not long after, Makoto came to the Adventurers Guild, where the receptionist explained that there are several ranks, and to move higher ranks they have to complete special missions. The receptionist measured their levels, which shocked everyone after seeing Tomo's 1320 level and Mio's 1500 level, which makes them the strongest adventurers, but Tomo didn't accept being lower than Mio. At night, Makoto informed Tomo about some people spying on them and he gives a mission to Tomo to slay the assassin tonight. Afterwards, Makoto also finds a red-haired girl who asks for his help, which makes him suspicious. When Makoto sees a photo of Rinan's sister, who has been missing for a month, he learns that Rinan's sister looks just like the girl from Earth. At another place, Tomo finds the assassins but they are too weak to pose a threat to her, and she effortlessly slaughters all of them. Afterwards, Tomo and Mio are given Makoto's command to locate Rinan's sister as soon as possible. A short while later, the two of them come upon Rinan's sister, who was in a dreadful state but recovered with some healing magic. Before they could take her, the perpetrator behind this came, who was also one of the strongest adventurers, but after hearing their master being called ugly, Tomo and Mio beat them to pulp. Unfortunately, a competition between Tomo and Mio makes the whole village being destroyed. Then, as they continue on their journey, they come across some fierce flying monsters. However, Mio exterminated them very easily, but the valuable part of the monster is also lost, making the others very sad. So Makoto made the decision to demonstrate his archery prowess, and with each shot he hit the weak area, the monsters were quickly dispatched. After entering the Adventurers Guild, Makoto discovered a special mission that, coincidentally, required ruby eyes, which he had acquired by slaying the monsters. He enters the trading company without delay, but the leader was not persuaded by Makoto but were instead astonished when he revealed the ruby eyes. Patrick, the head of the trading company, then revealed that these ruby eyes were needed to provide a cure for the potent curse that his daughters and wife were presently under. After hearing this, Makoto offers his assistance if necessary. Makoto then approached Patrick's wife, but upon seeing her, he realized the curse was more severe than he had anticipated. Fortunately, Makoto was able to detain her, and Patrick took advantage of the opportunity to give the cure to her mouth, curing her of the curse. However, there was still a long way to go because this curse also affected Patrick's 2 daughters. When Makoto applied the restraining technique once more, the next person was cured. Surprisingly, the final victim was capable of fighting off the curse, and Makoto quickly succeeded in healing her. After providing this assistance, Patrick expressed his sincere gratitude to him, and his first mission was complete. On the following night, Makoto expresses his experience on this mission to Tomo and Mio, and to his surprise, Tomo and Mio then make an overt attempt to entice him with their alluring bodies, which Makoto rejects outright. Afterwards, Mio and Tomo were chatting about casual matters when suddenly Makoto's consciousness vanished, which frightened them greatly. Soon after, they found Makoto, who was practicing with his bow, but then it was revealed that Makoto was shockingly diffusing his consciousness to his target. Which was like suicide because they could only diffuse their consciousness after they died. So, in other words, Makoto has diffused and reconstructed his consciousness over and over again, which has resulted in him dying several times by now, and the most astonishing thing was his mana, which had grown so tremendously that it was now on a god level. Then Tomo warned him that the goddess would certainly kill him if she learned of his power. Therefore, it was wiser to use greater caution going forward and refrain from practicing archery. Tomo was highly optimistic about their future and had no idea that her master would enter the god realm so quickly. The following night, Makoto ran into a demi-human who by chance resembled him, which helped him to understand why everyone had treated him harshly because of his appearance. To his surprise, a glamorous woman suddenly appears and tries to seduce him. However, Mio and Tomo intervenes and pulls him away. After returning, Tomo questioned him about why he was with a prostitute, which infuriated Mio and Tomo. They immediately undressed themselves to begin the final course, but Makoto used his magic to catch them off guard and escapes. The scene shifts, Makoto and Mio approach in front of the rare material known as ambrosia flower. Mio is overjoyed when Makoto extends his hand to her so they can move together, but then Aqua, Eris shows up and complains that they have intruded upon their territory. They attacked Makoto without saying much, but their attack were ineffective on him, and Mio was losing control because Aqua and Eris had disturbed her precious time with Makoto. Makoto makes Mio drink his blood to calm her down and breaks Aqua and Eris's weapons, which gives Makoto an opportunity to explain everything. Makoto clarifies his intentions for coming here, which is to become trading partners with the Forest Ogre village. Soon after, Aqua brings them to the village chief, who greets Makoto and welcomes him to the village. But at night, unexpectedly, a powerful undead lich came out of Mondo's body, which made everyone in the village terrified. Makoto had no choice but to unleash his darkness magic, which was so powerful when combined with his god-level mana that the lich almost perished. The lich is subsequently interrogated by Makoto. His aura has dissipated, but startlingly, he confesses that everything he had done had been to obtain a Grant's body, which was a superior entity with the ability to travel to as many worlds as he pleased. Surprisingly, Tomo proceeded on to expose the reality of Grants, who couldn't freely travel to other worlds as it was said, but that some people, like Makoto's parents, who had left their world to start over somewhere else are called Grants. Makoto made the lich his servant to learn magic spells from him after realizing that the lich was quite knowledgeable about magic. Up until this point, Makoto had only used some basic magic, but after learning magic spells, his use of magic would be much more powerful and effective. However, at this moment, a loud explosion outside caused Tomo to abruptly start bleeding and lose consciousness. The previous human who was transported to Demi-Plane has done some unforgivable things, which caused a massive explosion and, regrettably, caused a fragment of Tomo to perish while attempting to save others. As he watches his own people perish, guilt took over Makoto and is shrouded in darkness. Meanwhile, in another place, Elaine survived the explosion from the Demi-Plane and was about to escape, but suddenly Makoto came in front of her to take her life. To her shock, Makoto behaved viciously towards her and cut her arms first. Next, he took her miserable life. After some days passed, Tomo recovered from her injury and everything came back to normal. Makoto gave the lich undead a name, Shiki, who has now transformed into a human. Makoto chose to initially enroll in the Magic Academy, which would be the wisest course of action, in order to comprehend the numerous mysteries of this world. After seeing everyone off, Makoto and Shiki came to the Magic Academy shortly after, but to Makoto's shock, the goddess teleported him into the middle of a war between humans and demons. In the next moment, Makoto was sneak attacked by two humans who were previously the strongest adventurers, Sophia Bulga, the Dragon Slayer and Lancer. Makoto launched the initial strike, and following an extremely tense battle between them, he unleashed his mana, which overpowered them and allowed him to launch an attack using an artifact created by the Elder Dwarf. They were at a disadvantage against Makoto's fierce assaults, but unfortunately Sophia caught him off guard and teleported him into the sky. Makoto knew that he would die if he fell from this altitude, so he made plans to retreat to his demi-plane first. However, before doing so, he launched his most powerful attack and also used his ring which had mana stored inside. To everyone's horror, this attack ascended to god level, inflicted enormous area damage, and killed both humans and demons at once. The first season of this anime comes to an end now. I hope the recap was enjoyable and I will do part 2 of this video on this mystery anime recaps channel once the second season is released, so stay tuned to my channel. See you in the next video.